Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. About 6 to 7 topics for this video, or maybe 5. It depends on how many subtopics we have from the main topics. And some of them have to do with Ukraine. Some of them have to do with the United States of America. Some of them have to do with Venezuela. The first topic is regarding what the Russians report. Foreign fighters are actually invading Russia, not much Ukrainians. And the Russians report on what kind of communication, in what languages the communication is made in the invasion in Kursk and Belgorod, Russia. That's the first topic. Second one, we're going to discuss a massive Russian drone attack on Ukraine overnight and the Ukrainian successful defense of their country. But as always, there are consequences, and the consequences always prove that what they reported was not 100% accurate. Let's put it nicely. Why? Because the Russians are able to destroy some infrastructure, but somehow the Ukrainians destroy almost all drones and whatever the Russians throw at them. Another topic, the Russians are moving military equipment from other areas into Kursk and Belgorod. That tells me nothing happened on the other areas, like for instance Crimean Peninsula. And if you have to move it, I will show you maps, or a map. I'm going to use one map for the entire video because it's enough, that map. I'm not going to look at changes in the contact line or anything like this. It's just geographical representation of reality. So that's how the Russians are bringing more military equipment to stop the, as the Russians claim, foreign invasion of their country. Boris Johnson, remember that imbecile? All right, if you do, I'm sorry that we even have to remember such a name and such a person. But we are due to democracy, even though he was never elected as a prime minister of Great Britain. But hey, that's their democracy, and if they like it, it shouldn't be me coming in and say you should change it, as they come to other countries and tell them you should change your system because you're not this and you're not that. That tells me that you think you're better, or somehow you have the power of a judge, which you don't. So Boris Johnson will write news for us. He's going to be the editor-in-chief. Because he is very trustworthy, Boris Johnson. You can see the connection between the mass media politicians' big interest right there. Another topic here, we have Elon Musk, who just had a little conversation with Donald Trump, offers to interview the mediocre at best Kamala, which is fine. I'm 100% certain she will decline the invitation to be interviewed. Why? Because Elon Musk will ask Kamala not adult film movies questions, and she would be and again, no, not needed. It's not needed for me more evidence to know where she is in terms of IQ and knowledge, information. And the last topic will have to do with Venezuela, where the Americans are really trying, the American, or the interests behind the United States of America are trying to topple the Venezuelan people's will, which was an election. Maduro won again, and the Americans don't like that a bit. Why? Because Venezuela has oil, supposedly the biggest oil reserves in the world at this point. So that country will eventually will be invaded and taken over, like Iraq, for instance, by the same people who lied to us and threatened or scared us, or the baboons in general. And we're going to find out who the opposition leader is. No surprise for me. This could be a little bit how should I put it, a long stretch, but nevertheless I will tell you who this woman called Maria Corina Machado is. and she is the leader of the opposition, like Navalny. And these guys say that she's on the CIA payroll. I don't know if that's true, but for me, and I've been around the block a few times, one little piece of information in the, actually two, but one mainly, gave me a big red flag. And that is, whenever you see people educated in the West and then they are coming back and all of a sudden they're shoot up, just, you know, doors are open, they get elections, they win, like Saakashvili in Georgia. It's a good example. If you know something about the world, you know that those guys most likely, as a prerequisite, are being on someone else's other foreign agency's payroll. Is that a fact that she is? I don't have the evidence, but red flags. All right, it's like right now I will go to Romania, let's say, return to Romania, and all of a sudden I will just be appointed straight from here, let's say, an advisor to the next president, right there. And the next president is going to be a pro-US. You're going to know exactly that I was hired here already and I was pushed over there, and the doors will open. And in about 3, 4, 5 years, I will run for office as, I don't know, president or something, or be appointed to the internal, you know, the security and so on, or the military somewhere, a defense minister or something. That's the way you do it. When you have a big jump like that, and you come from here to there, you know, big red flags. Now, let's go to the first article. Russia Today. Foreign fighters involved in Kursk assault, Ukrainian soldier. Now, we're not going to be baboons and say, okay, this Ukrainian soldier told the Russians. Possible, 100%. Probable, I would say 50%. I don't have the evidence. I don't know if that guy was beaten up by the Russians to say whatever they want him to say. That's what happens always. And in every war by any side, except one. I'm sorry, mea culpa. And that is not happening in that country in the Middle East. No, they are perfect. Kiev forces were communicating in English and Polish on military radios, a captured serviceman has said. A Ukrainian soldier who was captured in Kursk region amid Kiev's ongoing cross-border offensive has claimed that foreign mercenaries, they call them mercenaries, are fighting for Ukraine on Russian soil. Footage of an interview with a detainee was released by Russia's Federal Security Services FSB on Monday. The agency claimed that the man shown in the footage was captured. You see, that's why these guys are a little bit more trustworthy than others. Look how they phrase this one. Footage of an interview with the detainee was released. The agency claimed, they didn't come and say this positive statement right here, that the man shown in the footage was captured. So they claim, with the help of the local residents in Kursk region. The Ukrainian identified himself as a 26-year-old member of his country's 80th Air Assault Brigade, which is taking part in the offensive. Ruslan Poltoratsky, as he introduced himself, said he first heard foreign radio chatter when crossing the Russian border and initially thought it was some kind of interference. And I'm quoting, they spoke in English, Polish, and maybe French. I did not understand them. Called on the radio to repeat and only heard gibberish in response. It says here, Poltoratsky also mentioned that the brigade, made up of those who used to be in jail, was taking part in the Kursk region. Well, I have nothing against that. So, my friends, let's see. Let's talk about this. I said many times before, when the Ukrainians are going to run out of people who want to fight for Zelensky Stein and his clique and his sponsors, then they will use, I said, the regular NATO military. How? They would come formed units from, let's say, I'm just saying, France. They will come to Poland. They will take off their French military uniforms. They will take the volunteer uniforms. They will take a picture as the new volunteer. They will place it right here in case they get killed by the Russians on the front as a volunteer. right? Their evidence, and they will be sent as a unit, the same unit with the same commander, will just change clothes, picture, and gone over there as units from that country. And when they're going to be killed by the Russians, they will be obviously in volunteer uniform, whatever they have, and the card that proves that they're volunteers. I said this many times before. It's been done before. It will be done. This is like a ABC 1, 2, 3. And when the books will be allowed to be published in after this little thing, then you're going to find out I was right. If you don't believe me now, and I don't ask you to believe me, do your research. Do your research. And you know, you should start with this. Read from past events, from past wars. And you're going to find out. These guys right now are not doing anything that haven't been done over there. Infiltration, different, taking Russian uniforms, infiltrating behind enemy lines, lying, propaganda, all that. This is war. As Avenged Sevenfold song is, this is war. Okay, so I recommend that song. So they're foreigners. Yes, they're foreigners. As what I suspect, and I say I'll be right, I will be proven right in a few years when the order will be given for those guys who already wrote the books. They're just going to change the numbers. The books are already written. There are people waiting for the button to send it and to be published. Why? Because there are certain people who always shoot up. You can write the same book better. Those guys will be, I don't know, published immediately by their buddies. You know what I mean? And they will become what? New York, bestseller or whatever, New York Times or whatever. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, that's the way it works. And when you read the book, you say, I knew this. I mean, look. And then they write your history as well. And they change your culture and they lead the country and they have the foreign ministry in their hand. And then you are a follower. Right, let's go to the next one. I'm not saying that I'm not, but I'm trying not to be. I am because of the information vomited on me as it is vomited on you. You have to be skeptical. You have to look into the events. Now, Ukraine downs 30 Russian attack drones overnight. In the early hours of Tuesday, August 13, Ukraine's defense forces intercepted 30 of the 38 Shahed-type kamikaze drones launched by Russia. So 30 out of 38. The Russians attacked Ukraine with 2 Iskander M/KN 23 ballistic missiles launched from Voronezh region and 38 Shahed-type UAVs from Primorsk, Akhtarsk and Kursk region. Well, let me show you. Primorsk, Akhtarsk, Kursk is this region, and Primorsk, Akhtarsk is in this area right here where my strong hand is, by the, right there, by the Azov Sea or Sea of Azov. This is where they launched those. All right, from here and from Kursk. As a result of the air defense effort, mobile fire groups, aviation, anti-aircraft missile units, and e-warfare operations, electronic warfare operation, intercepted 30 enemy UAVs over Mykolaiv, Vinnytsia, Sumy, this is what I need you to remember, Kirohovrad, Kherson, Chernihiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and Cherkasy region. Basically, pim, pim, pum, inclusive Vinnytsia right here, no further than this. Cherkasy, so this area. Right? Remember, Sumy was mentioned. Why? Because we're going to go to Sumy in a minute. Ukrainian air defense downs 30 out of 38 Russian attack drones overnight. Great. And this is for to make the Ukrainians go and fight. Look how fantastic that is. Yeah. So they have the same information. And we have now, again from the Ukrainians, Russians hit critical infrastructure in Sumy. Person wounded, part of the city without power and gas. Yeah, but they destroyed all these things. So when I read this kind of piece of information right after an attack is, if you destroyed most of them, how come those guys are in the dark? Oh, you know, Emil, they didn't destroy them all. Sometimes they say they destroyed them all, and still, and then you find 3 or 4 counties, oblast, with no electricity and no water, or Kiev when these guys attack Kiev. Oh, all the targets were destroyed, and then you find out, I don't know, 90% of Kiev doesn't have electricity and water. The next day. Okay, so let's go back and go to a different topic, which is invaders moving military equipment from Crimea towards Kherson region. Ukrinform. This is from today, the 13th of August, 2024. So they move it from Crimea to Kherson. All right. Well, this is Kherson is not how do you call it? Kharkiv. So they move it from Crimea now to Kherson here. Because why? I read one article actually, when they moved from Crimea not only to Kherson, but they also moved it to Kharkiv region. And in this case, Kursk and Belgorod area. Next one, we have a new guy to write the news for us. Russia Today, today the 30th of August 2024. Boris Johnson is running, he's not running, they're just discussing how, for senior role at UK newspaper. The ex-British Prime Minister has reportedly held talks with former Tory Nadhim Zahawi, the English guy. Oh no, she's Welsh. No, he's Irish, I think. Oh no, he's Scot. None of the above. Who is eyeing a takeover of the Telegraph. All right. Former British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is being considered for the role of global editor-in-chief of the Telegraph newspaper, several UK media outlets have reported. Johnson has reportedly held primary talks about the post with Nadhim Zahawi, the former Chancellor of the Exchequer, who is now aiming to buy the financially troubled newspaper. Ready, my friends? This guy who lied, this guy who did many things about that little incident. This guy, can you believe that? Yeah, look at where for instance, Psaki is, or other guys from I'm not saying you should not get a job, but it's too many coincidences. When you work for the government, appointed, mind you, Psaki, and then immediately from there, she tells us she was mediocre as best in her job of the White House, spokeswoman. Now we have the French Karine Jean-Pierre being in charge, another baboon over there as Psaki is just, that's the level. But anyway, they check mark all the victim check boxes. Nevertheless, and then Psaki now has a program somewhere in a mainstream operative media. How is that? Well, you know. Oh, we have also, if you remember her, she was smart. What was her name? She's smart. She was the White House spokeswoman of Trump, and she was very, I can't remember her name. Blonde, very smart, very fast, very knowledgeable, and she has been doing, and she's doing the same thing right now. Now, this is a system. I'm not saying she's not in the system. She's in the system. She is in the system. Now, I'm not saying she should just stay home and knit a little bit or cook in the kitchen, but too many coincidences, let's put it this way. And this guy is going to be the editor-in-chief. And let's see how Kamala Harris will avoid talking to Musk, because Musk is going to ask her some adult questions, and she, as a infantile human being, will not be able to answer them. Not only that she's infantile, or she doesn't know shit. She doesn't have the information. She didn't read. Why? I heard her talk about events. Go and see that famous or infamous answer that she gives regarding Ukraine and Russia war. Ukraine is a country fighting another country. Russia, a bigger country. Now that is the vice president of you and me. She represents us. I didn't vote for that garbage, but she is. And now she possibly could be the president. And you tell me the US electorate is sophisticated. And if it is, how come we got to this point? That means the system is. So what are the good people, sophisticated audience do about it? Vote. For what? Okay, for the other option. The billionaire extended the invitation after speaking at length with former US President Donald Trump. There you have it. There's going to be a no interview. Next one, Gonna find out that, according to Sputnik, this analysis, not necessarily true, but I picked it because it's very interesting. I think it's revealing for people who pay attention. Why pay attention? You're gonna see a pattern. You're gonna see a pattern. When someone shoots out like that, look at their past, and you're gonna find out they are this, or they are educated partly in some other countries that they work for. Why? Because they promote that. No, they're in love with the culture. That's what they do, right? Right. If one day I will return to Romania to change the garbage over there, I don't think that's going to happen in a democratic way. But nevertheless, do you think that I'm going to copy this garbage here? I will promote this garbage here? This is a cleaner garbage than over there. But no. We should get this garbage that we are in right now to where it was meant to be, not as a garbage. That's what I'm going to fight. For that idea, for that ideals, for those rules, for that constitution, not what we have right now. This is a perversion of what we are supposed to have. So maybe I'm going to fight for that, and even better than that. That's what's going to happen in Romania. I'm not going to I'm going to go to everything the Americans are doing, I'm going to copy. No. Some things they do good, some things they do bad. The same with the cultures. Anyway, let's move on. The White House. The CIA writes her paycheck, end quote. Venezuela's US-backed opposition Flounders. So remember, this is the opinion of this gentleman here, or this person, because I don't know if he's a gentleman. The United States has taken a keen interest in the results of another foreign election, with observers noting that Venezuela possesses the world's largest proven crude oil reserves. That's why that matters. So it says here, Venezuela Supreme Court of Justice, the highest court in the country, is examining the results of the country's most recent presidential election as opposition leaders and their foreign backers allege fraud. Okay, the country's National Election Council, the government body responsible for managing elections in Venezuela, has submitted records to the court in an attempt to resolve the ongoing dispute. The TSJ has noted its legal authority on the matter, noting that its decision will be final and binding. But the opposition has refused to take part in the process. No, they want to just overthrow those guys and be a Ukraine 2014 coup with the foreign agencies, drawing criticism over its failure to present requested evidence to the court. And I'm quoting, no Venezuelan party that alleges that have 40% or more votes than President Maduro, as the opposition claims, would hesitate to present the evidence to the National Electoral Council, CNE, end quote, said Venezuelan constitutional expert Dr. Olga Alvarez in response to the development. And I'm quoting, whoever cries election fraud must irrefutably prove it. The onus is on them, not on the CNE, to prove there wasn't. That's the way it is. And we have here, and I'm quoting, she's been operating as a foreign agent on behalf of the United States. The CIA literally writes her a paycheck, end quote. Alleged, I like that, House is this person here, political activist and independent journalist Nico House. Now, that person could be wrong, but hey, that drew my attention. Why? I'm going to check Wikipedia. Very easy. Speaking of Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, and I'm quoting, you would never see Joe Biden put in a request to audit and verify the results of the elections, he noted. I think that speaks to the accountability and integrity of Nicolas Maduro, which I feel like is the very important component here. Well, I don't know if that's the case, but nevertheless, let's go and see who this person is. I said two interesting things. First, for Maria Corina, so she is right here. Where is that? She was listed as one of BBC's 100 women. Did you know that? She was by BBC. So that's the first one. Now the more important one, which comes right at the bottom right here. So she has a degree in industrial engineering from University, Andres Bello Catholic University, and a master's degree in finance from Instituto de Estudios Superiores de Administración in Caracas, the capital of Venezuela. She was also part of Yale University World Fellows program in 2009. So she was invited over there, obviously by whom? You guessed it. So you can say, well, Emil, you are just exaggerating. I'm not saying she is. I'm just giving you a little piece of information that I know it worked in many, many other cases. Remember, when a guy, let's say, in the communist times, when this, I know that for a fact, I have the direct information, so anyway, when, remember the communists were oppressive regime and so on, when there were pastors from churches, from or even rabbis coming to Romania to discuss, from outside, from the United States of America, from France, from wherever, coming to Romania to speak with their little followers in Romania. They were picked up from the airport by the guys, and they were followed wherever they were going, because those guys, most likely, they were on the payroll of agencies, right? And they will with other people inside your country. So the same with these guys. When you hear this guy, I'm going to give you an example, a very clear example. The Romanian population might be familiar. You can familiar with the example. Remember when it was president of Romania was Traian Băsescu. He was a two-term president, and he had a prime minister, and that prime minister brought one 32, 34-year-old woman who graduated Harvard in economics or something like that, just catapulted from United States of America with an interview with, I can't remember his first name of the prime minister, who you can, I see his eyes, anyway, and Băsescu is interviewing these two. And I looked at her past and I say, just catapulted like that, pushed in front of Traian Băsescu. You can find the interview in about 37 minutes, if I remember. Ponta, Victor Ponta, wasn't he, who is sitting here? She's sitting here, and then Băsescu, the president, is interviewing the two, and she is just not there. But hey, she graduated Harvard. She was catapulted by someone. I'm not saying Băsescu, the president, was not their guy, but I just want to show you, draw your attention. Saakashvili, as I said, is another example, and many others. Educated in the West, then catapulted, and immediately, poof, they shoot up. Look, for instance, at in the Baltic states, foreign ministers, the people that were appointed, not necessarily elected, and you're going to find out they were educated somewhere else. I'm not saying that's evidence, but I know how things work, at least with these kind of things. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.